This is Jagdish, Faculty of Physics from Tala Padmavati International School, Warangal. In this session, I am going to explain about the lesson heat. Here it is a heat lesson. In this lesson, we are going to learn about the topics difference between hot and cold, measuring temperature, how to read thermometer, choice of thermometric liquid, different kinds of thermometer, transfer of heat, conductors and insulators of heat, conduction, convection and radiation process. Here it is a topic, difference between hot and cold. Before getting to the topic, I would like to explain heat and temperature. Children, what does it mean by heat? Heat is nothing but a form of energy. What it is? It is a form of energy. So, when you feel very cool in your surroundings, when you rub your hands, you can feel some hot. Okay, right. So, here in this situation, you are producing heat. So, with that heat, you can feel somewhat better than your surroundings. And I already told you that heat is a form of energy. Heat can transfer from higher temperature to lower temperature. In this particular point, one more new term has introduced. I already told you that temperature. What does it mean by temperature? Temperature is nothing but it is a measure of heat. It is a measure of heat, right? Temperature is nothing but it is a measure of heat. Now, with this knowledge, we can decide the object which is hot or cold. Here you can see on the screen some of the objects we have given. Those objects are cold coffee, pizza, iced tea, Maggi and spoon dipped in a hot tea. See that. First object is cold coffee. What is its nature, whether it is cold or hot? Right, in the name itself, it is a cool thing or it is a cold object. Is it clear? Right. Next object is pizza. What does it mean by pizza? Pizza is a hot object. Pizza is a hot object, or we can call it as a warm object. Next comes to the another object, iced tea. So, what is the nature of the iced tea? In the name itself, it has given its nature, that is ice. It's nothing but cold object. Next one is Maggi. So, Maggi is very tasty actually. While you are eating Maggi, it is very tasty, as well as you can feel some heat. You feel that it is hot object. And next one is spoon dipped in a hot tea. Actually, spoon itself, it is placed in a room. Actually, the temperature of the room is 27 degrees Celsius. When it is placed in a room, feel that, we don't feel any change. We don't feel anything when you touch the spoon. But if it is placed inside a hot tea, so after a few minutes, if you touch the spoon, you can feel some hotness. So that's what the spoon which is dipped in a hot tea, it comes under warm object or hot object. So with this activity, we came to know that some of the objects are hot as well as the remaining are cold. By depending upon its heat as well as temperature, we can decide some of the objects are hot as well as some of the objects are cold. This is a way we can differentiate hot objects as well as cold objects. Children, here it is the next topic, measuring temperature. How can we measure the temperature? Generally, if you touch the hot object which is placed on a flame, if you touch the hot object, you feel that it is very hot. Then how can we come to know that it is very hot object? If you touch the hot object, automatically heat energy transfers from hot object to cold object. Here hot object is a vessel and human body, our body is a cold object comparing with a hot object, hot vessel, right. So when it is having high temperature, automatically heat transfers from that particular body to another object which is in contact. So this is a way heat energy can transfer from higher temperatures to lower temperatures. With a physical touch we can guess whether it is hot or cold, but it is not exact the measure, right. So then what is the exact measure? Then is there any device to measure the temperature of an object? Do we have any device like that? Do you know what is that? Yes, here is a device to measure the exact temperature of an object, that is thermometer. What is that? Thermometer, right. So thermometer is a device which is used to find the temperature of an object. You can see the image of the thermometer on the screen, and that is also known as clinical thermometer. Clinical thermometer. Its range is in between 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius, right. Here it is a question for you people that I have said that 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. Here one more new term has introduced, that one more new thing has introduced, that is degree Celsius or degree centigrade. What does it mean by degree centigrade or degree Celsius? Degree centigrade and degree Celsius are the units of temperature. Olden days we used to measure with a degree Fahrenheit. The degree Fahrenheit. Is that clear? Right. So here 35 and 42 are the two magnitudes. If we add with a unit, therefore it becomes a physical quantity. What is a physical quantity here? That is temperature. Temperature is in between 35 degrees Celsius to 42 degrees Celsius. We can find on the clinical thermometer its range, that is nothing but its range. Then what is the normal temperature of the human body? Human body temperature is 37 degrees Celsius or 98.6 degree Fahrenheit. Is that clear? Therefore, we have a device to measure the temperature of an object exactly. So this is a way we can measure the temperature, not even with a physical touch, right. Here it is the next topic, clinical thermometer. Before get into the topic, let me introduce you about types of thermometers. We have different types of thermometers. First one is clinical thermometer. Second one is laboratory thermometer. Third one is digital thermometer. So these all are the thermometers which are used to find the temperature of an object. But in different purposes we can use different thermometers. So here we are discussing right now about clinical thermometer, and especially clinical thermometer is used to measure the temperature of the human body, right. So here I am going to describe about the clinical thermometer. On the screen you can see that image of clinical thermometer. Its construction is like long and narrow uniform glass tube we have inside the thermometer, and it is also known as capillary tube. It is also called as capillary tube. In that capillary tube, the mercury is trying to climb inside the capillary tube. Down in the bulb we can find some mercury, small amount of mercury we can find in the bulb. When the bulb is in contact with the hot object, automatically mercury will rise into the capillary tube, that long, narrow, uniform capillary tube. When it rises, we can find the exact temperature of the object which is in contact with the thermometer. We can find its exact temperature on the scale, right. And I already told you in the previous topic that it has a range, then its value is 0.2 degrees Celsius. So in this way we come to know that each and every small line value. After completion of that, we have to wash the clinical thermometer with an antiseptic solution, because if we use normal solution, it may not completely clean the thermometer. That's what we have to prefer antiseptic solution. And when you place the clinical thermometer inside our mouth under the tongue, then when it absorbs the heat energy, automatically you can find some height in the level of mercury in the clinical thermometer. If you observe that keenly in the capillary tube, it has a kink. It has a small kink. Kink is nothing but it has a cross-shaped tube. It has a cross-shaped tube, right? So the use of the kink is, it is used to hold the level of the mercury for a certain time before giving jerk to the particular thermometer. And we can see the exact reading of the mercury inside the thermometer. After completion, or after noting down the temperature of the body, we have to give few jerks until it settles down, the thermometer reading or the mercury settles down to the reading up to 35 degrees Celsius, right? It takes 1 minute to absorb the heat energy from our body, and now it is ready to show the exact reading of the thermometer. Here it is our next topic, that is, what are the precautions we have to take while we are using the thermometer. The first precaution is wash the thermometer neatly with a clean water as well as with antiseptic solution. Next, we have to give few jerks to settle down the mercury level under 36 degrees Celsius. While you are measuring the temperature of a body, we should not touch the bulb of the thermometer. If you touch the bulb of the thermometer, it may show wrong reading. Before using as well as after using, you have to clean the thermometer very neatly. So if you take these precautions, then we can find the exact reading of the thermometer as well as exact reading of the body without any harm. Here it is the next topic, and it is also known as one type of thermometer, that is digital thermometer. It is also used to measure the temperature of the human body, and it is user friendly. It gives the accurate value of the temperature of an object. It doesn't require any precautions as we learnt in the clinical thermometer, as well as we can see the digits on the screen itself. It doesn't mean that it is the temperature of the object which the thermometer is in contact. So it is advanced thermometer, so which give the accurate values without any error. Right, here it is the next topic, choice of thermometric liquids. So actually, what does it mean by thermometric liquids? Thermometric liquids are the liquids which are used in thermometers. So especially mercury, alcohol, we use to measure the temperatures in thermometers. So these liquids have a special properties. With that properties, we can decide this is the suitable liquid for the measuring of temperature with the thermometer. So few of the properties we have given on the screen. The first one is low specific heat capacity. What does it mean by low specific heat capacity? So low specific heat capacity is nothing but the amount of heat energy is required to rise of 1 kg substance to 1 degree Celsius is called specific heat. So in these liquids, the specific heat must be low. And the next one is, it must be a good conductor of heat. If it is not good conductor of heat, it is unable to absorb good amount of heat. By that we cannot get the exact temperature of the object. So right. Next one is, it must be an opaque, because if it is transparent like water, we are unable to identify the exact temperature on the scale. So that's what it must be opaque. If it is opaque, we can identify the level of the liquid in the thermometer. So by that we can it can give the exact value of the temperature on the scale of the thermometer. And next one is, it ideal boiling point as well as low freezing point, because if it has a low boiling point, with a small amount of heat the liquid is trying to boil. At this time it is unable to find the exact temperature of the substance, as well as it must not have the low freezing point, because when it is placed inside the substance, if it has low temperature, then automatically the substance which is inside the thermometer will freeze. So that is the reason why low freezing point and high boiling point. Last but not the least, when the thermometer absorbs huge amount of heat, at this particular time the liquid is trying to expand. The rate of expansion must be unique. It must not be non-uniform. It must be uniform. So when it is uniform all over the space inside the thermometer visible, as well as it will be giving the exact reading of the thermometer. I mean, it will be giving exact reading of the temperature of an object when it has the rate of expansion is unique. So with these properties we can choose the best and selective liquid for the thermometer to measure the temperature of an object. Here it is, the next topic, that is different kinds of thermometer. In this topic especially we are going to learn about laboratory thermometer. This laboratory thermometer is as similar to clinical thermometer, but the range of the laboratory thermometer is different than the clinical thermometer. This thermometer range from -10 degrees Celsius to 110 degrees Celsius. With this range, it is able to find the temperature of the liquids, especially in the laboratory. For example, water, it is a liquid. The boiling point of the water is 100 degrees Celsius and freezing point is 0 degrees Celsius. Laboratory thermometer, we can identify the temperature of boiling point and freezing point of the water especially. While using this laboratory thermometer, what are the precautions we have to take? First of all, we should keep the thermometer upright and should not tilted. First one is, should be upright and should not be tilted. Next point is, the bulb of the thermometer should not touch the surface of the container. The third precaution is, the bulb of the thermometer should be covered all the sides by the substance we are going to measure the temperature. So if you take all these precautions, you will get the exact temperature of the liquid. So with the help of laboratory thermometer, we can find different temperatures of different liquids. Especially this is used in laboratory thermometer. Especially this is used in laboratory. Children, here it is another topic, that is transfer of heat. In the beginning of this class, I have told you that heat is a form of energy and it can flow from higher temperatures to lower temperatures. Here is a question that how does heat flows? Right, heat can transfer from higher temperatures to lower temperatures, like how the water will flow from higher places to lower places. In the same way, the heat can transfer from hotter objects to cooler objects, or hot body to cold body, right? For example, if you touch the hotter substance, you feel some hot. What happens in this situation? In this situation, especially, the hotter object has higher temperature and the temperature of your body is low. So that is the reason why heat energy transferred from hotter body to your body, like higher temperature to lower temperature, right? So this is the way heat can transfer, heat can flow from hotter substances to colder substances. Is it clear? Yes, children, here it is. One type of process of heat, that is conduction. We have three types of processes in the transfer of heat. One is conduction, second one is convection, and third one is radiation. Now we are learning about conduction process. What does it mean by conduction process? When you touch a metal substance which is placed on a flame, after few seconds or after few minutes, you can feel some hot. What happens to that substance when it is placed initially and after few minutes? It doesn't mean that when it is in contact with a flame, now the metal object starts absorbing heat energy, and the heat energy transfers from one end to another end without any change in its position of the molecules. You cannot find any change in the position of the molecules, but when the molecules absorb heat energy, then it tries to vibrate. When it vibrates, it is in contact with another molecule, right? So in this way, heat energy can be transferred from one place to another place where it is in contact, where they are in contact. So after few minutes or after few seconds, depending upon the heat quantity we are supplying or the flame supplies, you can feel hotness, right? So what does this process is called? What does this process is called? This process is called conduction, right? Conduction is a process of heat transfers from one end to another end where the objects are in contact, right? So in this process, the heat energy transfers where the objects are in contact. Contact is must, right? Especially this process can occur in solids, and we cannot find any change in the position of molecules, but when it absorbs, the molecules try to vibrate from their mean position, right? So when they try to vibrate, they are in contact with another molecule. When they are in contact with another molecule, automatically heat energy transfers from the higher temperature molecule, right? So this is the way heat energy can transfer from one place to another place without any change in the position of the molecules in solid object. So this is the process of conduction. This process occurs only in solids, right? So you can see the image on the screen, right? The candle, I mean that is lit candle. A person placed a solid object, metal object especially. After a few seconds, he can feel some hotness, right? So in the process of conduction, the heat energy transfers from one end to another end, a person feels hotness, right? So this process is called as conduction, where the objects are in contact. When the two objects are not in contact, is there any chance of conduction takes place in that bodies? No chance, right? If there is a contact, there is a conduction process. Otherwise, there is no conduction process, right? Yeah, children. Here it is the next topic, conductors and insulators. What does it mean by conductor or insulator, right? So conductor, I told you in the conduction process, we have to take metal body, right? Here it is a metal body is a conductor. How can we decide that is a conductor? It is conducting, right? It is conducting heat energy, right? Okay, right. Depending upon this particular point, we can define conductor or conductors, right? A material or a substance which allow the heat to pass through it, right? A material or a substance which allows heat to transfer or to pass through them. A material or a substance which allow the heat to pass through it easily. Then that substance is called as, that material is called as conductor, right? So here are some examples we can see on the screen. Scissors. The next one is electric heater. In that electric heater, metal substance is there, no? That is the example of conductor, right? Paper clips made up of metal and metal wire, right? These are some of the examples of conductors, right? Next, what does it mean by insulator or insulators, right? So insulator is exactly opposite to the conductor. We are going to define the insulator right here. A material or a substance which doesn't allow heat to pass through it easily, that is called as insulator, right? If you consider any material, any substance, if it doesn't conduct, if it doesn't allow the heat to pass through it, therefore that material is called as insulator, right? You can see some examples over here. Material rubber, and next one is glass material and notebook. These are the materials we can consider as insulators, right? So the nature of the insulator is it doesn't conduct, it doesn't allow the heat energy to pass through it, right? So these are the conductors and insulator examples you can see on the screen. Children, here it is another process of heat transfer, that is convection process. What does it mean by convection process? Pour 2 or 3 drops in clean water, or pure water, or fresh water. What do you observe? You can observe that slowly that ink is spread all over the space of the water, right? So in the same way, heat energy takes place. With a motion of the molecules or inside the substance. Especially this convection process occurs in liquids, like especially in liquids and gases, you know, those are called fluids. So in this process, heat energy takes place with the motion of the molecules of a substance within the body from one place to another place. And you can see one picture on the screen, right? We have taken one vessel, in that some amount of water is there, and we are heating up with a flame, right? You can see some, half of the red circle, it doesn't mean that absorption of heat energy when the molecules absorb heat energy within the liquid or trying to move from bottom to up. In this process, the cool molecules remain in the water or trying to replace them. At this particular situation, again they are trying to absorb the heat energy which is applied from outside, and this continuous process. In this way, the heat energy transfers from bottom to top, the process of convection. This process is called as convection, right? So, especially this process occurs in fluids like liquids and gases. Yes, it is another topic, sea breeze and land breeze. Children, you can see two images on the screen, right? One is related to sea breeze, another one is related to land breeze. Okay. In the first one, the circle indicates, or the cycle indicates, or the blue color indicates cool and red color indicates very hot, right? Here the sea breeze especially occurs at the time of day, and in the daytime land absorbs more heat energy than the water. In this particular situation, the land, it becomes hot object. When it becomes hot object, the air is trying to escape from the particular place which is very hot, right? In the same way, water absorbs less amount of heat from the sun, and the remaining area, the remaining lower layers of the water is still cool. This is the way cool air presents on the surface of the water. When hot air escapes from the land, that gap is filled with the cool air which is coming out from the water, right? So, when it is occupies the space of hot air on the land, after a few minutes it becomes hot. The hot air is escaping from the land and that place is occupied by the cool air which is coming out from the sea, right? This is a cycle process. This is a cycle process. So, especially in the daytime, we used to spend near water bodies because water bodies absorb less amount of heat energy in the daytime than the land. So, when the cool air comes from the water, hot air is escaping from the land. This process is called as sea breeze. This occurs the time of day. And now, when it comes to land breeze, obviously this occurs at night time. At the night time, how much amount of heat absorbed by the land will, in the night time, the land will cool down, the land will release heat energy. Night time, the absorbed heat energy will be released from the land. Now land becomes cooler than water. The remaining amount of energy will be transferred to water. Now water is hotter than land. In the night time especially, water is hotter than land. Now, as we know that if the object is hotter, the air which is present on the surface of the water will try to escape from that, and that space is filled with a cool air which is coming from the land. This process is continuous, right? So, this is the way always cool air coming out from land to sea, and hot air is coming from water to land is called as land breeze. So, in the land breeze especially, water is more hotter than land. This occurs at the night time. So, this is a way we can explain sea breeze as well as land breeze. If you spend some time near beach at the night time, you feel uncomfortable because of land breeze, right? So, this is a way we can learn sea breeze as well as land breeze. Right? Here is the next process of heat transfers, that is radiation, right? What does it mean by radiation? How can we define this radiation process? Let me give an example. Daily we are getting heat energy from the sun, the daytime especially, right? When you go out from the atmosphere which is surrounded the earth, when you go out, when you get out of this atmosphere, do you find any medium like that in the space especially? No, we can't. All over the space is occupied with null medium, that is called vacuum, right? In the vacuum there is nothing, there is no medium, right? So here heat energy which is emitting from the sun is traveling longer distance to reach the earth, right? But there is no medium, right? It is traveling the space, it is traveling the vacuum, and it is reaching to the earth, right? So how it is traveling from one place to another place? We have learnt about conduction process and convection process. In these two processes, medium is required, but here there is no medium, right? Very good. The heat transfers doesn't require any medium. That process is called as radiation. We can define the radiation process as the heat energy transfers from one place to another place without any medium. It doesn't mean that it doesn't require any medium. It doesn't need any medium. The radiation can travel in the form of electromagnetic waves. Electromagnetic waves can propagate, can travel through the vacuum also. So this is a way we can define the radiation process. So this is one of the most important process of heat energy, and in this way only we are getting heat energy, right? That process is called as radiation process. On the picture you can see the heat energy is emitting out from the sun and it is reaching to earth in the form of wave. You can see on the screen. Yes, children, on the screen you can see all three types of process of heat transfers, right? What is happening over there? A vessel with water placed on a flame, right? And it has a handle, right? Now in between flame and vessel, the heat is traveling from hot object to cold object, from flame to vessel, right? And this process is also called as radiation process. Then if there is nothing, if there is no medium, right? So with the process of radiation, energy can be transferred. And after that, once it reaches to the vessel, first of all, that is a solid object, right? In the solid object, conduction takes place. After that, the water is in contact with the vessel, right? What is that water? Water is called as a fluid, right? So in the fluid, the molecules are trying to escape from the bottom. What is happening over there? They are trying to absorb heat energy which is applied by the flame. Now they are escaping from the bottom, and that place is replaced by another molecules which are coming from the top layer of the water. This process is continuous. Here we can observe some change in the molecule's position, right? This process is called as convection. And in the solid we cannot observe any change, right? We cannot observe any change in the position of molecules. That process is called as conduction. And initially from the flame to vessel, heat energy is transfers. That process is called as radiation. So in this single picture we can see all three processes of heat transfers. Especially in the solids, conduction takes place. Fluids like water and gases, convection takes place. If there is no medium in between two objects, radiation process takes place. So this is about process of heat transfers. With this topic, we are going to conclude the heat lesson, right? I hope you all are very clear with this video. Thank you. Thank you very much. And this is again Jagdish, Faculty of Physics, Tala Padmavati International School, Warangal. Thank you. Thank you very much.